All right, Megan, to be started.
Yeah, sounds good. Paul asked me to run through the agenda this meeting, so I'm wondering if we can get a volunteer to be the primary note taker, while anyone can edit the document as they see fit.
Yep, I'll edit.
Great, thank you for doing that. So we'll start out with just a quick status update. So the last community meeting was at the end of January. Even in the last month, we've seen almost 150 merged PRs, 50 closed issues. There's 9 active issues that were opened within that month period. Hi, Christoph. We're just starting with an overview of the recent progress in development, and that included 8 authors who merged commits, which is really fantastic. And Federico has write privileges and merged his first commit into the GMT repository directly, so that's quite exciting.
Campaign.
And that includes over 1,000 additions and deletions. So it's been a really active period of development, including the merging of themes, which I might be biased, but was considered very big, and also the addition of a new common option -W that Paul wrote to allow transformation of input coordinates to a cyclic system, which is useful for time data and any other data that might include some sort of periodicity. So moving forward, we are pending the release of 6.2. I started a release candidate issue this morning, and I think we're hoping to get that release candidate out in the next couple of days, although that really relies on the contributions of the many people who are mentioned in that release candidate to build, for example, the Windows packages from Joachim and those who are have volunteered to upload it to the various servers. So if anyone has any comments they'd like to make about getting that release candidate out, we'd welcome that now.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, and so on. I saw some mention of a release candidate, but was only that I did not know there was even, are there tarballs and things to be ready to be built?
From what I have seen from the 6.0.0 release candidates, as you know, I was not part of the GMT community then, so someone else might be able to correct me. There were tarballs that were uploaded to GitHub for people to try out the release candidate easily. If Dong or Paul know any differently, they could jump in here.
We don't usually release tarballs on release candidates well before. Paul use it to, no, you use it to put them in FTP, and we did our builds and then we released that. But okay, are you saying that they are in GitHub, the tarballs for the release candidate?
Don't they have to be? Yeah, don't they have to be if Linux folks going to try that release?
Because installer. We didn't used to do that. It would be okay. It would be the first time.
Yeah, I just dropped it in the chat. Is where I'm getting this information that it's likely part of the process. I mean,
the chat in Slack.
In Zoom at the bottom, if you click chat,
okay, by now, okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, it is something, yeah. 000. An older one.
Yeah. But I think we have to, right? I mean, otherwise it's sort of just an inside club testing things out, and there's wouldn't be a reason to make a release candidate if we weren't going to actually share it broadly.
Okay. I agree with that.
Do you have a 6.2?
We don't have anything out yet. We don't have anything out yet. We're talking about making one. Maybe this afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah. There's nothing available.
That's what I said. I saw a mention about the release candidate, but I did not see any about the files. Okay.
Okay. I thought you were asking if we were planning to release tarballs, and that is yes. No, they are not already distributed. In fact, we would like your help with that for the Windows side of things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, as you guys know, we've been talking about 6.2 since 2020. So it is time to just get the thing out. Otherwise, it will never get out. So people are waiting.
Yeah, and I don't think there are any issues that we are waiting to be closed before releasing RC1. There are a couple issues open related to difficulties with creating the bundle. So that could stall things if they still exist and are problematic, but we'll find out today or tomorrow what the status is with that. So the next agenda item relates to the UNAVCO GMT for Geodesy workshop that Paul and in collaboration, I think primarily with Dave Sandwell, is hosting this summer. So Paul, do you want to go over that a little bit and make a plea for volunteers?
Yeah, sure. So we just got emailed yesterday, and I haven't shared that broadly yet, to finalize, the registration form. I put that into the notes there. You can see that's from UNAVCO. They do all the paperwork and do everything, and they just want us to comment on things if we want to change stuff. So, they want to get the registration set up pretty soon so students can start planning their summers, I guess. I haven't heard anything from Dave yet about what days they plan to do it. We kind of like to have our GMT before the GMT SAR, so that students who want to take GMT SAR but are rusty or haven't had much GMT can take our course first, right? So when we had physical meetings 2 years ago, that worked fine. It was like a week. We had Monday, Tuesday for us, and then Dave had the Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even Friday. Yes, last year we did online, of course, and the days were kind of mixed up a little bit. I think Dave decided to split it across several weeks with an introduction and some homework and so on. So we weren't as synchronized as last time, I would say. And I don't know what the plan is this time for them. So, I'll talk to Dave about that and report back. But ideally, I think it went pretty well last year, the first time we did online. It stretched around a lot of time zones, but I think it worked pretty well. And we had, apart from many of you, we had a couple of student helpers, and it seemed to be an okay number. We kept it at what, 80-ish per session. I think we had 80-ish people who were involved and had access to Slack and and Zoom. And then there was about another 80 who were not UNAVCO consortium members, and they saw the simulcast on YouTube only and had access to the files and so on, but they couldn't communicate directly with us. So with about 80, there was no problems with clogging or too many people asking the same question. I think it worked pretty well. So 100 might be sort of a reasonable threshold if we get those kinds of numbers. But it depends a little bit on are they UNAVCO or not UNAVCO members and so on. So right now it's a little bit unclear the dates, but we do want to get as many contributors helping as possible. It's a pretty fun thing. You're just basically helping people who are kind of rookies with GMT to learn the ropes and help them why this doesn't work and so on. So it's not like you're up against GMT gurus who know a lot. They're pretty much starting very low level, and some of them are repeat users and know a little bit more. But it's pretty fun to interact with these people, and it's a good way to grow the GMT user base and maybe get some developers down the road if there's a few there that are pretty good. So if you guys are just stuck in quarantine all summer and have nothing better to do, please let me know if you're interested in playing a part of this. Again, time zones, you can come and go, right? Because this thing, we have people from all over the world. So typically start it fairly early in Hawaii time, and then it goes for, I think, about 4 hours we did last time in one day. So it sort of ends kind of late in Europe and very late in Turkey. And then, it's crazy in Pakistan and India and China. But most of those guys, I think some of them showed up and others just decided to call it a day. So, okay, so that's all I know about it so far. We have material from last year and the year before, and I guess we will sort of polish and polish it up a little bit and start another GitHub repo for 2021 probably.
Okay, and Paul, will that repo be the primary way to engage with any contributor volunteers, or will it be announced on the forum or other places on GitHub when it's actually time for people to start getting more involved?
It's Probably good to announce on the forum, sort of, because there are other people go there, right? And see if anyone is interested. We should try to rope in some of the people we know a little bit more about, for sure. You know, we have Christoph on the call here. You know, he'll be great helping with this thing if he's around and is able. There's the Danish guy, Aban, you know, who has skills. He could certainly help. And then, of course, anyone on this call could help. I mean, it's just, you know, answering questions on Slack pretty much. And then I'm guessing we can change this too, but, you know, last year it was me, Leo, Dong Dong, and Joachim who sort of ran the lecture part, right? Setting up things. And if we don't make enormous changes to those, almost anyone could run those. It's not like there is some magical knowledge involved in some of them, but that's sort of a template thing. And, you know, if one want to jump in and do one of those, that's also fine. It shouldn't always be the same people, I think.
Great, thanks, Paul.
Sure.
I mentioned that to Paul in the mail. Well, from my side, I'm feeling a bit silly talking about lines and thickness and dashed lines and things like that. I think we could. We have time, maybe on the volunteer basis, on parallel, have also a session with the rappers, with the Julia and the Pi GMT short. I don't know, demonstration. Well, a session with them.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, also to change, because as I'm saying, thinking again, I'm going to talk about lines and dashes.
You get bored, yeah, right.
I get bored. I'm not motivated to do that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Also,
yeah.
The issue with these is the installation.
Yeah.
Because we have GMT. That's why I thought, on a volunteer or something, can explain how to do it. But we know we have had feedback for people having all different sorts of troubles. So it'd be another layer of difficulty to put on top of installing GMT. So that's something serious that we have to consider. That's why I thought maybe we explain, and if people are interested, we tell them how to do it, which is not complicated, but still we see many, for one reason or another, for one understandable reason or for a totally unknown reason, many people still have issues installing. Now, for example, I found recently, as you may have seen, yes, that not all Linux install .so symlink. Some of them do not. So decided it's wonderful. So now GMT minus leave something does not tell the truth. It points to a library that does not exist because I don't know.
So one way around that, if it's a quick demo and we're not getting them to do extensive exercises, would be to host these things on Binder.
It's so slow. It's so slow.
Yeah, but
I've tried. I don't know if I don't know. Was it sold? I have not looked it again with that Julia wrapper was not working anymore because again Linux decided to break GMT leave something C. They do that all the time, and now it does not work. It did not work on Binder. It took me some time to find out why. Because they broke compatibility again. It's the image of Unix. So when I tried that, it's very slow. I know it would be handy, but it's slow. Because it's easy for people to install if they want, but they will have some problems. We have seen that also in PyGMT, where there are more people trying that also have difficulties. So something on a volunteer basis, but a remote thing that would be very handy, but a remote thing that works and it's quick. It's a bit
so one thing we could, I mean, we have a captive audience of maybe 100 to 200 people. We certainly should have a little overview of the wrappers. I mean, a short, sweet thing, making them aware of it. It's just evangelizing. This is, if you're working in this environment, this might be something you really want to get into. And then
it would be easy.
We could have an optional session for those who are prepared to play in these environments that are not part of the course per se, meaning the students who participate in the other events and do the homework will pass the course and they will get a credit through University of Montana, which is a setup, but it wouldn't depend on them passing the Python or the Julia addendum, right? That'd be sort of separate. And then that way we could, if we don't use Binder, we could impose a little bit more tougher installation requirements for those who actually want to do that part, So we can define that maybe as we get closer.
So, well,
yeah, I think one reason why it might be better to have it separate from the course is that I think there's probably a minority of students who would find it beneficial to know more than one of the wrappers. So I think people will either want GMT Julia or PyGMT, and so to have it be voluntary and afterwards is more appropriate for that reason.
Yeah. So could we leave like the last session on the last day to be like an optional thing where we could host like a PyGMT demo, a GMT Julia demo, maybe GMT Max demo, or something else like some other application like plotting, I don't know, something more advanced. Sure. And we could have all these running simultaneously in different breakout rooms and the students pick which one they want to go to.
That's nice. Yeah, I like that one. Instead of having doubling up several sessions, we can just have it currently, right? Yeah, that's a good idea.
When is the UNAFCO course anyway?
Well, we don't know yet, Luigi. That's it hasn't been scheduled yet, but typically from memory it was mid-July. Could that be right? Anyone remember? I can go to the calendar.
Okay, because the SciPy is on mid-July as well. Okay,
can please enter any bad times into the notes so that I have that.
So SciPy 2021 is July 12th to July 18.
Yeah, we don't want that one, obviously.
You probably don't want a clash of that.
That's a good one.
And I was thinking if you're going to mention like the wrappers, maybe it's like if you hold it before the SciPy conference, like we could just like point them to the SciPy 2021 PyGMT workshop.
Yeah.
If you want to like learn about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be like an option as well.
Yeah. I think it might depend on when Sandville decides when they will have the GMT SAR workshop. So I'll tell them that they should definitely not do it during that week because that will be problematic for us. But I don't know if he can do it before or after, right? So I think we'll have to see when he picks. Then we can come back and talk about that. If he picks the first week after, maybe we go the first week before or something. That would be okay too. It doesn't have to be back to back, anymore, I guess, because they're not flying in. It's not like logistics that we have to worry about.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And another thing was, do you think we should announce it on Twitter or something, or will we get quite a bit of attention from that?
I think after the applications are up, we could announce on Twitter. I think that will be a good way to recruit participants, maybe less so for volunteers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we should definitely. We have a Twitter account. I guess it's on the agenda a little bit further down, but cool.
Spoiler, we do.
we all could even. I don't even have a Twitter account, so there's that. Yeah, there I said it. I came out.
Okay, that all sounds great. If there are no other points, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is also summer-based workshops, but this for training developers. So for a little bit of context, in case anyone's not aware, their current GMT NSF grant includes a component of building a sustainable community of developers. And one of the ideas for achieving that goal is to host developer workshops in which active and experienced users are trained to contribute to the code and documentation base. And so we're hoping to host the first of those over the summer. And the NSF proposal proposed GMT-based developer training workshops, and the NASA proposal expanded that to PyGMT, although that is, we have not gotten any feedback from that, so who knows what's going to happen there. That being said, I think that we do have the bandwidth to host either or both this summer. And from my perspective, the optimal timing of these developer workshops would be in August after the user training workshops are completed, so that people from those workshops might be able to lead into the developer workshops. When we were writing up the NASA proposal, Leo recommended that we reach out to the Earth Science Women's Network to try to recruit a more diverse and balanced population for those developer workshops. So I communicated, or have been communicating, with the Earth Science Women's Network. They're very interested in partnering with us on these developer workshops. I think this partnership would mostly involve us doing a large portion, or possibly the entirety of the actual technical planning and the hosting, as we are the developers, right? So we have the capability of doing that, and the Earth Science Women's Network would contribute through advertisement and recruitment. They mentioned having about 6,000 people on their mailing list, so we would hopefully get a really positive response. And in the next few weeks, I think it'll be time to send out either interest survey or posting application opportunities directly. And from the responses of that, we could decide whether the primary focus should be PyGMT or GMT, or whether separate workshops are completed. And I should mention here that I have only so far contributed to PyGMT and GMT, but I don't want to exclude Julia here, Joachim. So if you're interested in getting on board, I think that is absolutely a possibility. So that's the current status with those. I think we'll need to have a lot more communication either on GitHub or the forum about planning this. And so far it's just been me communicating with ESWN, but it'd be really helpful to get some more people involved in the decision making for these developer workshops.
Yeah, I think the number, once we survey and get some sort of sense of the numbers that might be interested, it will help us plan what that course would look like, right? Because if you have 8 people versus 40, it just becomes very different. So that will be useful to plan what, how, because this is different than a user workshop, right? Run this command. It's a little bit more, has to be more intimate, I think.
Yeah, so, absolutely. I don't think this could be successful with 40 or more people in one room. It's possible if we had twice as many developers who could work as volunteers that it would be, but so maybe next year.
Yeah. Ideally, this will be, physical meetings with a lot of schmoozing and stickers and wine and dine and all that stuff to get them in the club. So we'll do the best we can until life returns as we know it.
Yeah. Well, one idea for that is to recruit the people who take the workshop this year for next year, because that way you can kind of expand a little bit. But I think for PyGMT, Julia, or GMT, probably the biggest hurdle is learning some Bash and Git, because that's what people are the least exposed to.
Yeah.
So if we have like one day or 2 half days of crash course into Bash and a crash course into Git, I think that would solve the problem for a majority of people to get started.
Yeah, that's a good sort of intro requirement to have taken one of those. I don't know, there must surely be existing material. I mean, I know the software carpentry and stuff. There might even be, maybe we don't have to do it at all. We just point them to something training they have to take, or do you think that's to be, we have to be involved in doing it?
There are software carpentry lessons for both Bash and Git. I think that developing our own material could still be helpful, because if we have the Git setup be specifically for the GMT repositories, then they'll be all set to go in a way they wouldn't necessarily be if they're cloning some other example repo from the software carpentry. One so I have volunteered to help some REU students learn these tools. And so in developing that over the summer, I could focus on GMT as I probably would anyways. And so those materials might be transferable to some of these August workshops where this UH event will probably be in June or July.
Yeah, sounds good. So we'll keep working on those plans and have an update, and eventually we'll probably have a repo for what that's going to be. Collect information there.
Okay. So the last agenda item, I think we'll have time to discuss, have some open discussion if anyone wants to bring anything else up, is the Twitter account. And so we do have one. It's at GMT_dev. I can drop this in the chat again so people can go on Twitter for their first time if they want to do that.
Yes.
And we have about 300 followers already, which in my limited knowledge of social media seems great. So I think that'll keep expanding as we get more posts out. And one of the reasons to mention this in the chat was motivated by a Slack question that WG had in what content should go on the GMT Twitter. And I see there being a few different paths. One would be only sporadic announcements of version releases, similar to what's considered an announcement for the forum. We could also tweet, I guess, more GMT content like animations or figures or user examples. And then the third and most, I guess, active option would be to, in addition to sending out original content, also retweet other platforms content where that could be some of our dependencies or some of our users. So I think this is a good time for some open discussion about what people's opinions are for that.
So who has the most Twitter experience here? Is it you, Leo?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I find that it can be a lot of work if you want to. So if we really want to build this up like a professional brand account, that would require like several well-placed tweets every day or so, which is just too much, I guess. Like, we don't really need that. And
unvolunteer for that effort.
Yeah, and we're not trying to. I mean, this is mostly a tool so that we can put out some announcements now and again, and it's a good way to interact, particularly during conferences like AGU or SciPy or any big event like that.
Yeah.
That's usually when you put out content, people retweet quite a bit because of the hashtags for the conferences. And usually that's where the follower numbers are going to blow up, I think. But as long as we just update, like put out, a quick update whenever we have any announcement or anything interesting, then I guess it all depends on how much time people want to put into it.
Yeah. It's like maintaining any social media platform or web page. It's effort based, and it's sort of it forces you to spend more time once you decide to do a better job in a sense. So I think we should just ease into it. It's right now continue to as you said, announcements, maybe point to some cool examples, all that stuff, but not make this a 3 hour per day kind of task.
Yeah. So Megan. One cool thing, so Megan mentioned that she was going to use TweetDeck, and one nice thing you can do there is schedule tweets.
Okay.
So if there's something like AGU, if you don't want to be constantly monitoring the Twitter during AGU, which is actually some of the best times to be on social media because there are interesting things happening. But say like we want to build up the GMT Twitter account during AGU, you could schedule like 1 tweet per day ahead of time, and then you just forget about it and maybe go in like once in a while and check the mentions.
Yeah, that's handy.
Yeah, the other benefit of TweetDeck is the Teams functionality. So right now, I think it's just me and Weiji who have the ability to tweet from the GMT dev account, but it's relatively easy to add anyone who has a Twitter account to be able to post content from there, so that it's an easier way for collaboration than how we originally thought we'd have to be sharing passwords and things like that.
That's good. All right, I'll get it to
Yeah.
I guess. Seems crazy otherwise.
Okay, and we'll make sure to add Leo in as well.
So that's all for
In terms of,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Reggie.
Sorry. So in terms of content, so we're happy to say, like, if I'm free, I don't know, for the next week or so, I could just like post like animations or stuff.
Yeah,
related
I
to
think
GMT,
so.
of course. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think.
Yeah, if you have cool images or animations, something like that maybe has like a script attached, or if you have a notebook on GitHub that makes it, like, if you post that sort of stuff gets a lot of love.
Yeah,
and that's genuinely useful as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then you will have to make links to the script, no? Because that's the limit from a. I only have a very fake and very old.
140 characters.
For 10 years, so
yeah.
So that is
so
the
it has
limit
to be a
of the
pure
words.
GMT command to fit under that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Bottom mode will take you.
One-liners. No, one-liners. One-liners only.
One-liner animations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so usually you could post. So one strategy would be to maybe either post it on GitHub somewhere,
And make a link.
then post a link, or you could post it on the forum under the showcase category, and then post a link to the forum, because then that drives people to the code and to the forum as well.
To the forum, okay. No, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
It'd be great to see what comes out of this. Does anyone have any other unplanned topics they want to talk about before we wrap up here today?
It's the Python logo. I saw Leo made another mock-up. It's April 1st, so I wasn't sure if I should comment on it in that spirit or not, but it gave me this good, fuzzy, and warm Soviet Union feeling of the hammer and sickle. Was that intentional?
It was not intentional. That was just me with a half an hour trying to procrastinate a little bit.
But it was nice. It was just a little bit humorous. I sort of saw that image. Oh wow!
But
good old
it means
days.
you drop any letter, because your last version doesn't have any letter.
Yeah, I didn't put any writing, because the thing is that the background is very busy with the map. So
and
whatever
5
writing
characters.
we put.
Yeah.
So one thing that really bothered me is that pi is shorter than GMT. So we can't have the text centered with the G centered. So either the G is in the center, but the text is lopsided, or the G is outside of the center. And that looks really bad with the circle of the, what is that called? Like the direction.
Yeah, the angles. Yeah,
Maybe we need to invent our own projection to center both the G and the whole bit of it. Yeah,
and it was kind of hard to read as well, with like either with the black text or the white text. Like, it was always kind of hard to read. So I figured, let me try to do something without it. And then this was my best attempt at mixing the GMT colors and the Python colors. Because any other combination just looked really, really bad. Like, it really didn't work, because either you couldn't see anything because the colors were too light, or they just really didn't match. So yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, so the source files are there if anyone wants to give it a shot or tweak or do anything.
Does GMT Julia need a logo too, or does it have one already?
Yeah, it has a logo. It's where do I have it? Some of the, at least one of the examples in the gallery as the example. Well, I made it simple. Julia used that 3 dots, and there are lots of variation on that, and 3 dots in GMT. So I just put one letter inside each of the dots. So it's a very simple one. I might think, well, there was something that was relatively easy to do, but it took me still some hours writing the script, because the script the logo function in Julia plots the GMT logo or in any size, or the Julia logo or the GMT Julia logo. But it's simply the 3 circles which are the Julia logo with the GMT letters inside.
I see that. That's nice.
In that case, it was really perfect, the number, so no problems with the lettering. But it's it's so far is the one I have, and there are many that it's a solution adopted by many packages in Julia. Sometimes there are some artistic variations instead of having put whatever people think inside the circles. I could put projections, also maps, but that one is it's simple. It's the one I have for now. It's 3 circles filled with colors with the GMT letters inside. By the way, I'm speaking. Can I ask Jason to turn on his camera, because it's a bit strange that people go to meetings that don't show the faces. But I think, like students.
Hi, Jason. You want to say hi to us?
Yeah.
It is okay if you're still in your pajamas or anything like that. We don't put too much pressure on you.
Apologies, okay. I have some noise in the background.
That's okay.
I'm working on my camera.
Well, welcome, Jason.
Yeah, welcome.
Don't have good lighting.
There he is. Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us. We do this kind of once a month. At least that's the plan. And we'll talk about how GMT is moving forward and not moving forward, and what the issues are and so on. And it's sort of open for everyone to participate and see how it's happening at the inner circle and eventually join the circle.
Yeah, I was very interested to hear what's going on. I've been, using GMT for quite some time. I listened to the Pi GMT meeting a month or 2 ago, but yeah, you guys are doing excellent work. I'm very happy to see the developments that have been going on, and I actually might have some more bandwidth to participate more now that I have a new
That's fantastic.
better job.
We talked about the developer workshops coming up sometime in the summer. Might that be something you might be interested in?
Yeah, I think it might be. Yes, I'm learning. I'm kind of following how you guys interact as a team and kind of learning from that. And
yeah, cool. Yeah, there'll be more information coming out once we have a plan.
Yeah, I will stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Also, jump on any of the conversations that happen on GitHub or the forum anytime. It's always nice to see people getting involved in those. So there's a few different ways you can start getting more involved if you're interested, or just keep coming to the community meetings.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for coming. I just want one thing about 6.2.0 release candidate. I really want to get Federico's animation 14 in, so we should all pay attention on that PR and give in some feedback on the questions. I haven't done because we're sort of busy with other things, but I would like that one to be part of 6.2, because we upgraded the seismic tools to handle animations of beach balls and cross sections and stuff, and he has an example animation that uses that. So we definitely want to make time to get that in for this release. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I slowed it down at all with the question about converting the time coordinates using GMT, because it's a little bit unfair, since I think most of the files that are in the cache that involve time had them similarly converted, probably in Excel or something like that. So I don't think essential to have that be a bash command or anything like that before uploading it into the cache.
Yeah, we can look at that. I mean, ideally, this example will inspire other people to do the same thing, right? So the simpler it is for people to just copy paste and make a change in the region and time and stuff. That's the best. But it's also so just inspire them in general that, oh, GMT can do these things. Wow, that's kind of cool. And then you get more motivated to invest time to learn how to make animations. Can be a little bit hard on the brain first few times. And since Christoph is here, we talked about, we spent a lot of effort on the side branch to improve what the usage message looks in the terminal. So we have a branch that now detects the width of your terminal, and it wraps the usage messages accordingly, and it's cleaned up quite a bit. But this has to be rolled out to 150 modules. So, and it's not automatic in that sense. So we're not going to do this with 6.2.0. It's just going to take too long time and get bogged down. But it's basically just documentation, I guess I would say. It's not code effect, anything like that. So we'll keep working on that branch and then merge it in when we get to a point where it's covering everything, I guess. But it's been really interesting to do, and it's definitely improved the readability. If you just want a quick summary of the usage in the terminal, because you're sitting in the terminal, it's way more readable now in those few examples that we wrapped. So just letting you know about that. We'll keep working on that.
So is this something that could be released like partially? So instead of waiting for all the modules to be done at once and then include that, could they be included like one at a time? Because that might make it easier to maintain instead of having to maintain a branch for a long time.
Right. No, the only trouble is that it looks a little weird when all the common modules have a central function to print out, right? And they're all done already. But then, GRD, pick your GRD view, for instance. It will have a mix of common options and GRD view specific options. And they will come out in a weird mixed sense where all the common option will be properly aligned with the terminal. The other one will be just whatever we have right now. So it will look ugly and weird and unstructured, I guess. If we're willing to live with that, then we could. But it looks a little strange when it's a mixed thing, I think. But we've been good about merging in master into this branch all the time, because there's been a lot of changes to master, so it shouldn't cause conflicts and headache down the road. Let's see. Any open forum, I guess, if anyone has any GMT or otherwise, or anything that can come up.
I guess we can see you all on the interwebs. Thank you all for joining today for the community meeting.
Yeah, great. We kept it 45 minutes as a record.
Okay. Yeah, it's a record.
Yeah.
Thanks, Megan, for running a tight ship, I guess. Not me just blabbering on unstoppable endlessly. So this is great.
Yeah, thanks for running the show.
Yeah, so please go to GitHub and look at Federico's movie and give comments, because we're going to wrap this up as soon as we can, I guess. That's the goal. All right. Have a good evening, morning, day, whatever it is.
Easter.
Next time. Easter, that's right.
Thanks. It was
Bye.
great to see everyone.
Yeah. See you all.
See you.